Fireside chat. Now, unfortunately, I think Steph might have disappeared off your screens in mid-sentence. As you know, bringing you a live safari from the middle of the African bush sometimes comes with its ups and downs of signal. Now, luckily, we have this burning bonfire to keep ourselves company on the hottest day of the year.
How lucky.
That's my fault. Sorry.
Thank you, Brent.
It's charmingly warm right now. I'm going to try and shift back and make poor Brian's life terribly difficult. Right, so as I said, welcome to this evening's Fireside Chat, and of course the much anticipated unveiling of the Birmingham Boys' names. But before we go into that, James, welcome back.
Thank you.
It is lovely to have you back.
Yes, I was away for a very long time.
Yes. It certainly felt that way.
7 days.
Yes, it felt longer.
Did it?
Yes, it did.
Well, that's good.
We're very glad to have you.
My heart pined.
Yes. They're very good at lying. Can you see that, everybody? They're excellent performers, these two next to me. They probably felt like it went immediately.
Well, speaking of performing, we did learn from you.
Did you?
Yes.
Performing?
Yes.
Yes, quite. Good. Excellent.
Anyway, and on to that note, talking about the Birmingham Boys. So, of course, it's come time now where we've spoken about it. James, I think, has introduced the idea on Drive. I've introduced the idea on Drive. The fact that it is now time to give the Birmingham Boys names. And why are we giving them names? Well, there's been so much in the way of the dynamics that have played out over the last year and a half, I would say. And the Birmingham Boys have actually earned their right. They've got unique and individual characters. And the fascinating thing is that their dynamics are slowly developing in the way that they have evolved. So it's very, very important, especially because we get new viewers each and every day. And to be invested in telling these characters' stories, a name is absolutely essential. And talking to a new viewer and saying this is Birmingham Boy number 4 doesn't have quite the same ring to it as giving them a proper name. And that's what we've been up to.
I think also I don't know if you've had this discussion while I've been away, but we had a big discussion about Cecil the lion, and I mentioned him before I went away, and how Cecil basically changed the face of lion conservation. And if he had been called male 4 of Pride 6 in Warriorr, so M5P6H, nobody would have known. And his plight would never have been broadcast, it would never have been shared across social media platforms. And the very fact that he had what is unquestionably the wettest name any lion has ever been given, well, that's beside the point. The point is that he had an incredible name, and it's done wonders for lion conservation. And certainly when we went to the Mara and we saw those 4 lions that they had there, they've got 4 rather magnificent names, I think, especially Scarface. It was a terrifying animal. And when we were there were some guests there that came all the way from South Africa to see one animal. And that one animal was Scarface. And so, quite apart from the naming, or them deserving a name, which, I think is... biologically, they don't really care whether they have a name or not, do they? But I think that it's beholden on us to give them names, and hopefully, through their antics here, which we enjoy, they will take the message of lion conservation into the earth through you.
The more people that get to see them and to become invested in them, the better.
Yeah.
And of course that left us with how do we name them?
Yes.
And there was much debate and many emails about how we were going to go about this. And what we've come to this point where in the future we've actually laid down guidelines, not rules, and just guidelines as to how we will go about this in the future. First of all, we will go for Xitsonga names initially. That will be our initial approach, and of course taking into account the characteristics of the animals as a whole. So if there's some identifying feature, something similar like that, that doesn't mean we won't use English names at all if the situation is appropriate. And again, there will be exceptions to every rule. Sometimes the prize will take the name of the area they're in. Anderson male, of course, is a complete exception. It's not named after a characteristic, but we have laid down some guidelines as to how we'll go about this.
And JJ, you were interested in whether or not the local guides here will use the names. What do you think, Brent?
I think it's quite an interesting one.
Yeah.
I think to a degree, I think they might, and especially some of the Shangaan guys, because they've heard their language butchered for the last 20 years, quite often. So it could be very interesting to see.
Jamie mentioned Xitsonga, which is the kind of overarching linguistic group to which the Shangaans belong. There's some debate over whether Shangaan's a dialect of Xitsonga or if it's the same language. It's really unimportant. The names that we've chosen, I think, are all Shangaan or Xitsonga names, so you can use the two terms completely interchangeably.
And we have run them by several of the camp members, but from Amanda and Herbie and Rexon, we've involved them all in this whole process. Right, so without any further ado, drum roll.
Revelation.
Do we want a drum roll? Let us announce the names of the Birmingham Boys. So, first off, number 1, Nsuku, meaning gold. That is a nod to Blondie, who of course is not going to remain blonde for very long, but his eyes and his coat absolutely will. So Blondie with his nick out of his right ear, very big, one of the largest of the Birmingham Boys, and probably the one with the fullest mane.
And it's unlikely to stay blonde, as you say, as he gets a little bit older. He, unlike not Brent but me, will not lose his hair, and so Nsuku is how we say it. And that's the Xitsonga word, and it's spelt. I think it's important. There will be a blog out.
There will be a blog, but the
out.
spelling is very important.
And the spelling Nsuku. Nsuku. Is that right?
That is right.
Okay.
That is right.
Excellent.
So Blondie's got big scars around his face, 2 puncture wounds, a deep mark across his nose.
Does he have those 2?
No.
That
is the next one.
Ah.
And so, on to Birmingham Boy number 2, and drum roll again. His name shall be Nhenha, which means warrior. Now, he is the Birmingham Boy with the equal sign on his nose.
Right.
That's going to disappear, of course, as his scars heal. I think that is going to vanish. However, he is a beautiful looking lion. He's one of the older of the Birmingham Boys, and he, I feel, has earned his title of the warrior.
How much older do you think he is than the others?
I think Nhenha and Blondie are quite relatively close. I think there's probably a couple of months between the youngest two.
Don't think there's more than a year.
There's no more than a year.
No more than a year, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And then, of course, we get to one of the younger members of the Birmingham Boys, one that we see more regularly than Nsuku and Nhenha, and that is Tinyo, Birmingham Boy number 3. Now, Tinyo means tooth, and I think most of you, our regular viewers, will be absolutely on board with why we have called him Tinyo. And Tinyo has a massive scar on his top left lip that has revealed his canine tooth and will, I think, forever expose his canine tooth on the top. I think a truly appropriate name.
Yes, I like
Tinyo,
that one.
tooth, Tinyo.
That one
spell
called
Nhenha.
We didn't spell Nhenha.
Nhenha's an
No, we
important
didn't spell
spelling.
Nhenha.
You go for it. Well, the H's
You
go.
take that. It's Nhenha. So Nhenha, Nhenha.
And if it's pronounced basically Nena, but the H just slightly aspirates it, so it's not quite, but it's halfway between Nhenha and Nhenha.
Perfect.
Sense of awe around.
Yes, warrior.
Yes,
Oh.
he's coming for you.
Oh.
Perfect description. And of course, he is one of the Birmingham Boys we see the most, alongside, drumroll again,
My favourite.
Birmingham Boy number 4, whose name is Nfumo. And Nfumo means the authority, which I think is highly appropriate. He is definitely, in terms of physical size, I think he's actually the largest Birmingham Boy. I could stand corrected. It's been a long time since we've seen them all together lined up perfectly for that comparison shot. I think he is the biggest of the Birmingham Boys. He certainly seems to get the attention of the ladies very often. Well, I say he wins the attention of the ladies, perhaps.
Or he takes the attention.
He takes the attention, yes. He claims the attention of the ladies. And of course, over the last few weeks, we have watched him heal from a massive wound on the right-hand side of his cheek.
He was the one who was very cleverly called by, was it the viewer or was it you?
No, it was a viewer.
Who called him Vredefort,
Yes.
which was after the Vredefort Dome, I believe, which was a meteor landing site.
One of the largest meteor impact sites in the world.
Right. And that was because he had a great big hole in his face,
Yes.
full of
And
maggots at one stage.
It is healing up beautifully, but it was touch and go for a while because it's not healing up beautifully. You're right. That is an entirely wrong description. It's healing up nicely.
Yes.
It is no longer looking quite so dangerous. It's very thick and pussy still, but I was a little bit worried that it was going to spread into his sinuses, and I think that the authority has earned his name because he fought off a seriously debilitating infection. You could see it was hurting him. He was uncomfortable, he was ill, he was just not a happy boy.
Let's just get this straight. We're calling him Mfumo, the authority, M-F-U-M-O, correct?
Yes.
M-F-U-M-O.
Yes.
Can
That is
also
correct.
M-F-U-M-O, yes?
Yes.
Can also mean the one who ruled the authority.
Because he managed to beat off a couple of maggots on his face.
It was more than a couple of maggots,
More
James.
than-
And
Yes,
while
he
fighting
conquered
12.
them.
He conquered them.
He conquered those
Good for him.
maggots.
Good.
And while fighting the maggots, he did not forget his mating rights. And
Good
he was
for him.
he was on the job constantly while pouring at his face.
That is very authoritative.
And catching buffalo just, on the side.
Yes.
So he's definitely
Right.
performed extraordinarily over the last few weeks.
James Richard, you say that you're quite pleased that you're very pleased that they've all got Shangaan or Xitsonga names. We are too. For me personally, I think it's an interesting one because most of the animals around here have got Shangaan or supposedly local names. Many of them, and we will chat about this going forward, controversially, have got names that are either meaningless or misspelt or mispronounced. And I really like the way we've gone about this. We've gone to great pains to find out the correct spellings, try and find a name that is perfectly relevant to the animals that we're looking at, and also to make sure that the due respect is given to the local culture and the local language. And in so doing, it doesn't preclude us ever giving an English name to an
No,
animal.
absolutely not.
So that's an important one to notice.
Just as long as you never bring up Skinny Pom Pom ever again.
Yes, well, I was going to, I was
fought
leading into
hard.
that because I think Skinny Pom Pom, of course, is the best lion name since Cecil.
I'm sure Tinyo is very grateful that he isn't called a skinny pom
Yeah.
pom.
Now
Things could have
Cecil,
been worse.
Cecil, interestingly enough, do you know where Cecil comes from? There was a 50s movie, I actually remember watching it as a child, called Cecil the Cross-Eyed Lion.
Oh, really?
And they made glasses and put it on to fix Cecil's cross. So I don't know
I'm
for
sure.
sure,
Must have
but
been.
I'm pretty certain that's where it originally comes from.
Oh, brilliant.
It's quite a funny movie.
It is very
I
funny.
bet
When
it
I
is.
was- I did watch
Cecil
it
the
when I-
Cross-Eyed Lion.
Moving swiftly on. Many of you are very, very pleased with the choices, and I'm happy to hear that. I promise you we did think long and very hard, and it went on for
Yeah.
a while, the discussion and not arguing, but
Endlessly.
discussing backwards and forwards on it.
It's the most
Really
emails I
tricky.
ever got from Graham Wallington.
It's the most emails you ever responded to.
I know.
Anyway, most of you are very pleased, but would like a repetition, please, with pronunciation slowly, which is entirely fair enough. So shall we go from the top, James?
Yes,
would you like
number
to?
one.
All
Would you
yours,
like
James.
all
No,
yours?
I don't think it should be.
I think it should be.
All right, who was number one again? Blondie. Nsuku. Okay, Nsuku. N-S-U-K-U. Nsuku. That's a pretty easy one. It's just said as it is. Number two was Nhenha, the warrior. N-H-E-N-H-A. A slightly aspirated H or N, so it's Nhenha, which, look, they don't really mind if you don't say the aspiration. A very strict Shangaan language teacher might be, but you can pronounce it N-E-N-A if you're not in the sort of Shangaan land that we're in now. Then the third one, of course, is Tinyo, the tooth. Tinyo, which means tooth. One tooth Tinyo, many teeth Matinyo. That's how it
He
goes.
does have
He
many
does have
teeth.
Matinho.
And
we
he
can
does,
only see one when
but
it's
we can
live,
only
so.
see one, so we'll just call him single tooth Tinyo. It's not look, it's a very nice Shangaan word. I mean, were you to call him Tooth, for example, it wouldn't have the same ring to it as Tinyo, the lion, right? And that's T-I-N-Y-O, and then the fourth one, Mfumo. Mfumo, M-F-U-M-O. Mfumo, meaning he who chased the maggots from the hole in his face.
And
Doesn't
personally,
really mean that, it means authority,
it
does it?
does mean the authority, not
One
he who
who
chased the
rules.
maggots. Although he did, and he did very well. I'm, for one, am really looking forward to using these new names. It really started to get to the point where you can hear new viewers switching, not hear, you can imagine new viewers switching off when you're trying to explain the complexities of their dynamics, and number 3 did this and number 4 did that. It's much easier to relate when you're talking about
I'm
a name.
positively terrified that I'm not going to be able to identify them. So we will require your help. The tooth we can get.
The tooth and the authority.
Yes. The authority has a hole in his face, so he's easy. Can we go once more through the distinguishing features? So you said
Yes, we can.
Nsuku has a
Nsuku
nick?
has a nick on his right ear.
Bottom right, isn't it?
He has... is it?
I remember looking at the pictures. Bottom right ear. Sorry, I'm touching my left ear. Left and right I'm not good at.
Okay, he has a nick in his right ear and deep puncture wounds. I can't remember, I can't confirm. Deep puncture wounds on his right cheek and quite a big scar across his nose. He's beautiful. He's got the darkest mane in terms of its severity and the fullest mane. But remember, these characteristics will change. Nhenha, relatively unscarred face comparatively, with the equal sign across his nose and a nick. No nicks out of his ears. His ears are perfect. Tinyo he's got the scar on his lip, and he has got his right ear is slightly floppy, and he's got a little U out of the tip. And then, of course, Nfumo, he's going to have a massive scar for the rest of his life. I think there's going to be, once it heals, there's going to be a massive depression there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I've got a surprise that I think I'm going to spring on the two of you that I've been holding back.
You're going to sing. Wait.
Heavens no.
You're going to dance.
Heavens no.
You're
You don't have your
going
guitar.
What's he going to do?
I don't know.
I'm waiting as we draw towards the end of this fireside chat.
I'm terribly nervous.
You all have to roar like a lion.
Oh, do we?
Oh,
Yes.
goodness.
I roar like a
Roar
lion
in the
quite
Birmingham
regularly.
Boy name.
Yes.
Yes. Or you could roar in a Birmingham Boy of your choice. Oh, we have one.
Right, I will do Mfumo,
Yeah, you chose the easiest
the
one.
Maggot Warrior. Here we go.
I'll do Nhenha. Nhenha.
How was that?
That was horrible.
Oh.
Are we roaring the name or
Well, I think we're running out of time, so we need to make a decision now.
Nhenha?
There we go.
And what would you like to do?
Oh no, I'm panicking.
Tinyo.
Yeah. Tinyo.
Nhenha.
Bye bye everybody, see you tomorrow at 05:30.
Nhenha.